The Chinese economy might be about to implode. Global corporations are withdrawing their investments and shifting their manufacturing operations abroad. China boasts the second largest economy in the world, but with enterprises from both abroad and within the country leaving every day, it might not be long before everything collapses. Everyone wonders, will China be able to recover from the significant outflow of firms? What is driving this Chinese exodus? Why are international businesses becoming less reliant on China? It seems that China's heyday as a manufacturing hub for the international businesses is drawing to an end. Foreign direct investment, or FDI, in greenfield and mergers and acquisitions (M&A) is falling into China. And as other Asian nations gain attractiveness, investors' concerns about China's future are growing. The quantity of greenfield foreign investing entering China is rapidly declining. We anticipate that the total number of incoming projects in 2022 will only marginally exceed the level attained in 2020 during the height of the worldwide COVID-19 lockdowns. China could only receive half as much investments in 2022 as it did in 2019. There's a sharp decline in the amount of foreign greenfield investments coming into China. We predict that the overall quantity of projects that come into 2022 will only slightly surpass the level that were reached in 2020 during the height of the global COVID-19 lockdowns. In comparison to 2019, China would only receive half as much investment in 2022. Investors typically establish productions and sales departments in China when it comes to business operations. Nearly half of China's FDI inflows are accounted for by these two business functions. FDI levels in 2022 are, in all scenarios, half of those in 2019. The decline in foreign direct investment in China is not limited to new projects. Chinese businesses have found success using M&A to launch operations in North America and Europe. However, there is a decline in Chinese cross-border outbound M&A activity due to stricter laws, especially from governments in North America and Europe. Chinese investment in security-sensitive industries, including telecom, aerospace, and defense, worry these nations. In 2022, Chinese M&A of non-Chinese companies decreased by about 50%, and overseas acquisitions of Chinese companies also showed a declining trend. In response, the Chinese government has tightened restrictions on foreign transactions. The country's zero-COVID policy and economic downturn have also decreased interest in M&A. On the other hand, as a result of shrewd businesses seeking to close mergers at a lower cost, the number of domestic M&A transactions in China increased by over 50% in 2020. The amount of domestic M&A decreased in 2021 and 2022. Nonetheless, domestic deal activity is still 26% higher than it was in 2019. Why are businesses avoiding China? Businesses are moving their operations away from China for a number of reasons. And number one is China's rising labor expenses. First, China is becoming less and less affordable. China's labor expenses have increased at a far faster rate than those of its regional rivals, Malaysia and Vietnam. In China, the average yearly pay is approximately $16,798. This is over 5 times more expensive than the average wage in Vietnam, $3,427, and nearly twice as high as the average salary in Malaysia, $8,627. Investor attention is thereby diverted to other markets. At number 2 is economic slowdown in China. China's double-digit economic growth was previously the source of envy for practically all nations worldwide. It is, nevertheless, going through its first notable slowdown in almost 30 years. China's economy grew faster than most of its Asian neighbors between 2010 and 2021. India was the only country that could compare. However, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, reports that in 2022, China's real GDP growth fell to 3.2%. This is lower than Malaysia and Indonesia and less than half that of Vietnam, India, and the Philippines. According to the IMF's most recent 5-year projections, China would likewise grow more slowly than its neighbors. China's rapid economic expansion was largely fueled by the country's housing boom, but more recently, its real estate market overheated. Among the main issues facing the industry are rising energy prices, increased living expenses, expanding personal debt, and shifting demographics. The real estate industry is thought to contribute between 15 and 30% of China's GDP, meaning it has a big influence on the country's economic expansion. Furthermore, China's economy is slowing and its labor productivity, or production per worker, is poor. The International Labor Organization estimates that China's labor productivity in 2022 was $21,715, which was less than that of 72 other nations. Labor productivity growth was halted. China's labor productivity increased by almost 7% annually on average between 2012 and 2020. The rate decreased to 3.6% and 3.4% in 2021 and 2022, respectively. The inability to increase labor productivity is having a negative impact on the economy. At number 3 is unrest in the supply chain and trade tension. The U.S., the greatest economy in the world, is concerned about China's increasing influence in the global economy. The U.S. is also eager to lessen its excessive reliance on China. Businesses in the U.S. are concerned about China's expanding trade imbalance over the U.S., which was $397 billion in 2022 and was growing by 1.9% year over year. The COVID-19 epidemic highlighted problems with the supply chain that arises when bringing commodities from China, such as raw materials and components, to the U.S. and other nations. Reshoring and nearshoring are becoming more popular as a result, in an effort to guarantee uninterrupted productions of goods. Governments have also implemented policies such as subsidies to entice domestic businesses to produce domestically while ignoring the manufacturing hubs of nations like China. One such example is the U.S. CHIPS Act, which attempts to incentivize U.S. businesses to produce semiconductors, a vital industry, domestically. It also aims to entice additional foreign chip producers to open offices in the United States. The truth is very different from the hyperbole in the media, which leads one to believe that trade between the U.S. and China will soon virtually stop. The U.S. is now China's top export destination, and trade between the two countries is at a record high. China's General Administration of Customs estimates that in 2022, 16.2% of China's exports, or $582 billion, went to the United States. After Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan, the U.S. ranks as China's fourth largest import market, making up 6.5% of all Chinese imports, $178 billion. U.S. data supports this. After Canada and Mexico, China is the U.S. third largest export partner. According to the U.S. accounting standards, the U.S. spent $154 billion worth of commodities, or 7.5% of its total exports, to China in 2022. With $537 billion in imports, China was the U.S.'s top import market. At number 4 is unrest and geopolitics. China's one-party authoritarian state government has drawn criticism for inequality and environmental issues. Furthermore, there have been charges of attacks against Uyghur ethnic group and other Turkic Muslims in the region, as well as the elimination of Tibetan culture, leading to problems in several parts of China, including Xinjiang. Additional concerns have been raised by Chinese military exercise close to Taiwan. To stop foreign companies, mainly Chinese ones, from purchasing domestic businesses, some European nations tighten their FDI laws. As a result, national worries have evolved from a loss of technological expertise and the creation of jobs to security concerns. In addition, since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, attention has focused on China's unique relationship with that country. Just 35 nations, including China, did not vote in favor of denouncing Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Which nation stands to gain from China's downturn? Based on preliminary data, the Asia-Pacific region is expected to have the highest rate of FDI inflows in 2022. We project an annual growth of about 30% in FDI inflows. Even while China is still the fourth biggest inbound market in the region, after Singapore, Australia, and India, do you think the downfall of China has begun? What do you think about the decline in foreign and domestic investments in China? Let us know your thoughts of this in the comment section. For more interesting stories and updates, subscribe to our channel and do not forget to press the bell icon for notifications. Goodbye.